What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed. In today's video, we're talking about how to start a snow removal business step by step. I brought in a snow removal expert. I got Carson here with me. Carson, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Glad I could get you on the channel, man, to come, shed some light on the topic. Carson actually has a YouTube channel himself. He's talked about, snow removal businesses a lot. And so I'm glad to, get you to weigh in on this for us and give us some good information.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet, man. So let's kind of start off, Carson. How long have you been offering this service and kind of like what your business is?
So we do snow removal in the winter. We're from Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, so we've got a landscape company in the summer, but for us in the winter, we can't do anything up here. So other than really snow removal. So we've been doing snow removal. I grew up doing this, but when I bought the company from my parents in 2020, that's when I kind of started on my own doing it, and that's when we really got into snow removal a lot more. A lot of companies just do it as a necessary evil, but it's actually a huge revenue generator for us now.
I love it. I love it. Okay, sweet. So in this video, we're going to try to get into all the facets of starting a snow removal business, equipment, pricing, pretty much everything that guys are going to need in order to get started with it. Before we get into that, though, I do want to let you guys know this video is sponsored by Quote IQ, and we're giving away $1,000 to somebody who downloads the app, leaves a review, and sends a screenshot of that review to admin@quoteiq.io. Instructions for this are in the comment section of this video. Also, subscribers will get double entries, so you guys definitely check that out if you're interested. So if you need help keeping up with customers, sending estimates, invoices, or collecting payments, be sure to check out Quote IQ in the comment section and the description. Carson, you'd mentioned that you bought this business from your parents. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, did you legitimately buy it from them?
Yeah, so I legitimately bought it from them, still paying them off. But in 2020, so I grew up doing this. They started this business in 1989, and I bought it in 2020, and have kind of taken it over since then. And my dad and mom had always wanted to keep it just a small kind of landscape company. We had one crew in the summer, and then in the winter, they just did some snow plowing to keep the lights on and keep money coming in. So I bought it, and then we've 4x the revenue of the company in the last 4 years, and snow removal was a huge piece of that.
So how did negotiations go with your parents, man? Were they some tough cookies to negotiate with, or just like, and then them handing the keys over to their younger son? Like, I mean, that had to be kind of weird as well, huh?
Yeah, no, it was a little different for sure. I guess this is the first business I bought. I bought a couple more since then, but it was definitely a little interesting. It honestly, I wasn't super big on negotiating the price just because it's my parents and it was part of their retirement and everything. So, and they've taught me just about everything I knew up to that point. So, I was pretty thankful just to have the opportunity, honestly.
Okay, beautiful. So this is a landscaping business that offers snow removal in the winter months. Is there anything else you guys offer during the winter months to kind of, keep the business going or keep revenue coming in?
No, it's just snow removal. I mean, snow hauling is part of that. So hauling snow off of sites that there's no more room for it. And then also salting, de-icing, stuff like that. So
Okay, sweet. And I'm sure, your customer base, they kind of, those are like some add-on services.
exactly.
Okay, sweet. So I'm going to be asking questions from somebody who knows absolutely nothing about snow removal because I live in the South. It's funny. The first comment that we got on this video was step one, move out of Louisiana because there's no snow here. I think it's probably snowed like 2 or 3 times in my entire life. So if my questions are kind of, a little bit, more beginner, that's because I don't know anything about snow. So just like this guy, there's no snow in California. So
Yeah.
anyway, anyway, you've been offering this service for a while. I guess kind of let's jump right into it. What do we need any kind of like licensing or specific insurance with regards to, offering the service?
So licensing, no. I mean, you just got to be registered with the state, just like any business would have to be. All your IRS tax stuff. So there's no special licensing other than what you need for normal businesses. Insurance, though, there is. Insurance is pretty critical in this because if you've got employees, a lot of times you're out in the middle of the night. Whenever it snows, and it's usually in the middle of the night. The roads are the worst condition they possibly could be. So there's a lot of dangerous aspects to that. And when you're going for long hours, because you just kind of got to go whenever it snows. And like last year for us, we had snow that would just, the storms would roll in and it would be 3 days long and it just wouldn't end. So we had guys out, and changing shifts where some guys would get out of the trucks, go take a nap or go to sleep for a bit, put another guy in that truck and then alternate. So it can be pretty dangerous. It can be fatiguing. So you definitely got to have insurance. And there's certain types of insurance that you want to have as well.
Okay, beautiful. I want to get into, some of the mistakes that you can make. Obviously, I guess if you run someone's like, property over, then of course you got to pay for that. So could help to have insurance, right?
For sure.
Um, so you mentioned that you have like this is a legitimate business for you. I think you had told me on the phone you're what, 25 right now, or
Yeah, 25.
Sweet. And how big is the business right now? Like how many employees or how many crews you guys got running?
So we've got two landscape crews in the summer months, and then we've got an excavating crew. In the winter, we'll have anywhere from 20 to 30 pieces of equipment out doing snow removal, depending on the season. Now, this season is, seeming to be pretty light. We haven't even really had any snow yet this year, so there's not much going on. But we've got 20 to 30 people, all in all, and it fluctuates with the time of the year and what's going on. So.
Okay, sweet. I want to get into kind of the offering here in just a second, but you'd mentioned seasonality. Like, obviously, this runs in the winter, but like, what exact months are you guys like really kind of preparing for like snow? From November to
Yeah, every year it differs a little bit. So like last year, middle of October was our first real snow event, and then we were busy all the way through the end of the season, which is usually March, April, somewhere in there. This year, I mean, it's December 14th today, and we went out twice this year so far, and we just did de-icing, salting because we've had under 1 inch of snow on each storm. So we really got little to no snow this year. So.
how hard is it to manage employees with that then? So like, because obviously they show up. I guess they show up every day to do work. Are you guys still doing landscaping when it's not snowing? Is that kind of how you?
Well, this year, yeah, we certainly could be doing landscaping still. Last year, because it snowed so soon, we didn't really schedule any more projects. So we've got some fill-in stuff here and there. But honestly, that's the hardest part about getting into snow removal and scaling with snow removal is the employee side of it. I mean, like I said earlier, it's the worst times of the day. You're usually going out at night, so people got to wake up in the middle of the night, leave their families to go jump in a truck and plow snow or shovel sidewalks or stuff like that. So employee retention is probably the most difficult piece of this thing.
Okay. And so just okay, because when I think about snow removal, I think about like a kid with a shovel and he's like going driveway to driveway removing snow. So can you kind of break down like what your customer base looks like? It's not like since you guys are doing salting and you're having to work at night, are you guys doing like main roads and stuff?
So we do some private roads where they're like HOA maintained or they're owned by like a township or municipality. But a lot of the stuff we do is just commercial. So whether that's retail or industrial parking lots, we do some government parking lots as well for like libraries and things like that. But a lot of these places, a couple nursing homes, and it's 24/7 around the clock. There's nurses there. So, I mean, if it snows at midnight, we got to be out there to clear it because people are coming and going and it's a hazard or it's a liability piece.
So I obviously want to get into the pricing aspect of this, but this is very interesting, kind of the structure of how you guys operate. So is it a retainer fee that they're paying in order to get you guys on call, or do you bill them after? Do you invoice them after you've serviced them? When it snows.
Yeah, and that's a great question. It depends what you want to do, and we do a mix of stuff, and there's two reasons for that. The two ways we do it is either a per time charge. So if we get a lot of them are if we get 1 to 4 inches of snow, we're going to charge X to go out and plow the parking lot, shovel the sidewalks, and salt. If we get 4 to 6, then it's this price, so on and so forth. And then some are just monthly flat fees where we'll no matter how much snow we get, we're going to show up, we're going to service it. You're going to pay this amount each month. And then if we salt it, we charge that additionally above and beyond that monthly fee. So those blended models are really good, especially for years like this where we're not really getting a lot of snow. So like the month of November, we didn't go out at all, but we billed out, a bunch of money and just guaranteed income because that was part of the contract. So works good for years like this, the guaranteed years like last, it doesn't work so well. So that's why we try to blend it where every time we're going out, we're covering at least all of our expenses and then making some money on those per time charge accounts. And then we've got the monthly income to cover, all of our costs and then profit as well.
Okay, sweet. So when you're bringing new customers on, like you said, you're blending them. So are some people charged by time and some people charged, just on the monthly retainer? Like which one would you even rather? Would you rather have the retainer fee or?
Honestly, for us, because we've got, the whole landscaping side of it, and our excavating company, and there's a lot of overhead and equipment that comes with that. What we try to do is get enough people, on board to cover all of our overhead expenses if it doesn't snow at all winter or very minimal. And then what we try to do is get, an even break between at minimum, we've got our overhead covered on the guaranteed monthly income. And then every time we go out, I factor what it's going to cost us to go out in our labor, our fuel, our truck time, everything, breakdowns, overhead for breakdowns. And I try to make that up in every per time charge. So every time we go out, we're at least covering all our costs and then making some money. And then each month, if it doesn't snow, we've got guaranteed income coming in to cover all of our expenses as well. And then the accounts that we get above and beyond that. So that's kind of our base. That's our minimum. And then everything above that is just really, I try to push the clients, whatever works best for you and your budget. A lot of residential stuff, because we do driveways as well, those people just want to pay per time. And a lot of rental properties like apartment buildings and things like that, they just want a flat rate because they want to budget it in because they know what they're making off their rents for their tenants. And so they don't want to have a fluctuating expense each month. They just want to know what they're going to pay and budget it in.
This is very interesting service because it's very weather dependent, right? So,
It
I
is.
guess I kind of want to bring it back a little bit. So, like, let's say you just wanted to get started in this. Whenever you, well, I mean, I know you acquired the company and probably you guys already had all the equipment and everything, but did you ever just do driveways at any point in time?
Yeah, I mean, we've not, I guess, just driveways, but we do a mix of stuff, like I said. But if
Right.
someone wanted to get started, honestly, that's where I would start because some of our most profitable accounts are the driveways. It's a little bit harder because you got to bill, to make the same amount of money as you do on a commercial site, you got to have, maybe 5 to 10 driveways. But if you can get a really dense driveway route, we figure we can charge about a $325 to $350 an hour is what it would end up charging because we're just charging per time for the driveways. But with how quick we can do them in an hour, it's about $300 to $350 an hour, is what a truck can charge out at.
Wow, okay. Well, that's actually really good. Okay, sweet. Because I wanna make
Yeah.
sure, like, obviously, you're doing snow removal at such a high level. I wanna make sure that anybody that's coming into it can kind of, like, get some good info as well. So, like, let's say, Carson, that I wanted to start a snow removal business. Obviously, it hasn't snowed a lot there so far. Would I just go knocking doors in a neighborhood and say, "Hey, when it snows, I'll come take care of it," and, like, what would be kind of the pitch to that, you know?
Yeah, I would say, if you don't have a lot of money to start and invest into advertising or stuff like that, just go knock doors. I mean, not a lot of people want to shovel snow and they don't want to, or plow their driveway or whatever it is. Just go knock the doors and start getting people's attention and just tell them, hey, and if you don't want to do it or, they don't want to sign up for your service, could you recommend somebody that might, or do you have a neighbor, that has somebody do it? Just ask for a referral or a recommendation if they don't want it. But yeah, knocking doors is going to be the best way to get into that residential market.
But is there any way for us to get money today even though it hasn't snowed? Like, can we say, "Hey, like, what would the structure look like?" It would look like because obviously if I knock the neighborhood and I got like, 40 contacts, as soon as it snows and I have 40 people calling me, like, is it even possible to service all those people? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many you got. So each truck that we have, well, a friend of mine did this last year. He just did residential, right? And he just had his own pickup truck. He did about 30 to 40 residential accounts, but they were all super close by. And it would take him probably 10 to 12 hours, but he was charging 70 to $80 per driveway for each one of them, doing 40 of them in the course of 10 to 12 hours. And he was making really good money doing it.
Alright, okay. Well, sweet. So this is doable at scale and also, if you're just starting out. Okay, sweet. So now we kinda talked a little bit about cost. We'll look at some video footage here in a minute, but first and foremost, I wanna get into equipment. So can you take me from, like, beginner equipment, just getting into it, to kind of where you guys are at and what you guys have now?
Yeah, so beginner equipment is probably going to be pretty much the same for everybody. I mean, really beginner, you can start with, as simple as a shovel. If you want to go out and just, I'm going to shovel your driveway for you, knock the doors, go to the neighborhood that you live in and just try to get people to sign up. Just tell them you're going to show up every time, shovel the driveway. That's, really beginner. Then you can level up to like a snow blower from there. That's going to help make you more efficient. You can take on more accounts. If you do have some capital to spend or you already got a pickup truck or something like that, putting a plow on the front of your pickup truck is going to be the most efficient way to do those. And that way you can knock out a whole bunch of them. Yeah, there's an example there of just one of our trucks. And that's going to be the best way to go around and do driveways.
Okay, so can we kinda talk about a price point for each? So, obviously, like, if you just had a shovel, that would be a relatively cheap way to get into the business. You could do it for, I don't know, a shovel costs $20 or something, right?
Yeah,
And then so can
exactly.
you kinda talk about the levels? Like, what would the snowblower be as, like, a next level?
Yeah, so you're probably to go buy a new like Toro snowblower or something like that, you're probably gonna spend 600, $700 something. So not crazy, but if you think about that, if you're charging $70 a driveway, you need to do, that driveway 10 times or get 10 driveways, and the first time you go out, it's paid for itself. And then you've got gas and all that other stuff too, which is now you have to add that into your expenses every time. But I would say $700 somewhere in there to get a snowblower, and you can go on Marketplace and get used snowblowers for, even like $50, right? So you can find used ones for cheap, but then you go up to like a pickup truck and a plow. I mean, if you go buy a brand new pickup truck, you're probably going to spend between 50 and $60,000, and you can go, well over that if you want a nice one. But you can get into a decent pickup truck for around $20,000 to $30,000 and be in a good spot. And then to go buy a new plow, it's going to cost you anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 to get that thing put on the truck. So there's kind of a whole range depending on the quality of equipment you want, but you can do it for as little as, that shovel for 20, $50 to a snowblower, 700, up to that truck full package cost is going to cost you, $30 to $40,000.
Wow, dude, I love how like you're very cost centric. Like a lot, like I can tell you run a legitimate business because a lot of people that I've had people on the channel that they run a business, but they're not as like you probably have a P&L, right? You probably tell me what your profit and loss statement is, huh?
Oh yeah.
Right.
You got to
So
know your numbers. You got to know
that's
your numbers because if you're not factoring it in, it's as simple like I said. When you go from that shovel to the snowblower, yeah, you spend $700 on the snowblower, but now you got to buy gas for it, and then you got to change the oil in the snowblower. So there's a cost that goes into every piece of equipment. Pickup trucks, again, you got gas, diesel, you got oil changes, tires now. So there's a lot of other expenses that you don't see right away that you got to factor into that price.
right. And a lot of people make the mistake of not even thinking about the cost as much, and they just see the money coming in, and then before you know it, the costs start creeping up, and
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
not a good way to go. Okay, sweet. So if we want to start this business with relatively no money, we technically could get the shovel, go knock doors, leverage that into the snow blower, and eventually graduate to kind of, the current setup, which is one of these, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got skid loaders and front end loaders and stuff like that as well that got plows on them and whatnot. But that's
Okay.
more specialty stuff. That's for, commercial parking lots and things like that. Um,
I
yeah.
think there was one right at the beginning of this video. Yep. So this is
Yeah, there
this
you
would be
go.
one of them.
Yep. So that was a skid loader with a cage containment plow on it. That one was used for doing an HOA of townhomes. So that, it can turn really quickly and turn around. So it makes it super efficient. And then that containment plow holds a bunch of snow in it so you can go a long ways without it spilling out to the sides.
Right. And you said snow moving. So you guys can actually are you loading the snow up and bringing it elsewhere?
Yeah, so depending on the sites, like when we get down into St. Paul and Minneapolis, a lot of the sites don't have enough room to keep all the snow throughout the year on site. So we actually have to load it into dump trucks and then haul it out of the cities to a location. We've got a couple yards that we dump at, and a couple that we own, but then we just dump the snow there and it just melts in the spring. And we charge for the equipment to load it, we charge for the equipment to haul it, and then we actually charge a disposal fee to dump the snow at our property, and then it just melts in the spring. And there's always like some garbage you got to pick up, but at the end of the day, that's one of the best pieces about snow removal, or one of the most lucrative things, is we can get the account to not only plow the snow, push the snow to the side, put salt, ice melt down, but then in between storms when there's nothing else to do, it's not snowing, we haul some snow out and then we get paid to do that as well.
Not to mention, like, you're selling the space too, that's genius, like, and then it
Yeah,
just melts, like, and then every year you get to
exactly. You
sell the
don't have to
space.
do anything with it.
Dude, that is brilliant. So, that's like a whole other little business, I'm sure. I mean, is that lucrative? Like, if you just had, like, a field, you could sell it to, people to put
Yeah,
snow there?
it certainly is. The closer to the inner cities you get, where it's just all concrete and parking lots, and there's no room to put snow. The closer to that you can get, the more you can charge for it. I mean, if you're way 2 hours out of the cities, no one's going to want to truck it that far because the trucking's so expensive. But if you're close by and you got room, there's a couple abandoned malls that other people own in the cities here that they just stack snow in the parking lot because they have nothing else to do with the mall.
Dude, that's incredible. I never even thought about that. I love, like, thinking about, like, selling space for money. Like, I've heard of even people selling, like, parking lot space for money or, like, I don't know. It's
That's
just cool. Yeah.
That's what we do with our properties that we also stack snow at. We just, people can store trailers there or other stuff as well, and we just charge to rent outdoor storage. Yeah.
So, and then, like, I mean, once you get down into, like, the winter, do you have to tell them to leave, or is that just a section of it is just, like, outdoor
It's just
storage?
a section of it, yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Dude, that's brilliant. I love that. I mean, it's just another model. Like, the thing is, I don't think people understand whenever you want to start a business, you need to have like so many ways for money to trickle into the business. And the more ways that you have, like the more, obviously more money you're going to make, but just more sustainable the business is, because when you're only relying on one source of income, like very quickly, if that shuts down or something happens, like you're in trouble. Right. So,
Exactly, yep.
having all these layers in here is absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we talked a little bit about pricing. I want to show this video and kind of walk through maybe some of these jobs here. So can you kind of walk us through like what this job is in particular?
Yeah, so this specific one here was a HOA. It probably was, if I remember correctly, maybe like 60 homes, like the one you're seeing, are twin homes there. So that's two homes in front of you. But there's probably 60 of those. And then we just left that skid loader on site there. and then went through and plowed everything. The operator would just drive their vehicle to the site, jump in the skid loader, start up the skid loader, and then go from there. So we didn't have to trailer to the site. It worked really well, and we just left that thing on site.
Dude, that's beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna keep it going here. We'll kind of take a look at some other ones. This is young Carson right here.
Yeah, this is years ago. This is bringing me back.
Dude, you were the OG on YouTube for removing snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So this must be, I don't know if this is another job here that you're going to. These are some driveways, I think.
Yep, these are some, again, another association of driveways here. So these are a little trickier to get into, especially if you're starting, just because we got these through a management company. So that side of it, and same with the commercial, you got to have your contacts and network, and just who can you talk to at these management companies, or Google them, pick up the phone and cold call them. Hey, I want to bid your snow removal for any associations you might have in the area. But it takes a little bit more work to get into these than it does just knocking doors in the neighborhood. So, because it's really a connection driven industry when you get into the commercial stuff. They want to work with who they know and who they can trust, because there's a lot of people that just don't show up or they overslept. I mean, when we get, I always tell everybody, we got to hire, you want 15 people to show up for snow removal, you got to hire 30 people, because about half of them are going to show up each time because somebody oversleeps or they get stuck in the ditch, or whatever it is, because it's just crappy hours and it's the worst conditions.
Wow, it's got to be hard to find employees for, man. That's terrible.
It is difficult for sure,
I
but
would
you can charge for it because everybody needs the snow removed at the exact same time, and there's only so many people that can do it. So charge for it, supply and demand.
So, like I said, I don't there's no snow over here. Obviously, you can't really drive on this, right? That's why it's gotta be removed. I mean, how many you guys have to have, like, a lot of accidents around there because, you know, I can't imagine it all gets removed, I'm sure some people, like, drive off the road and stuff, huh?
Yeah, no, it can get dangerous. So that's why a lot of commercial sites, they want us out there right away, or they want the parking lots cleared before 7 a.m. So that's where it gets tricky. If it stops snowing at 3 a.m., well, you got a few hours to go and clear the snow. If it stops at 5 or 6 a.m., well, now you've got that time crunch. It's all compressed into a couple hours. You got to try to get everything done as soon as possible. So it's it's kind of like gambling. You got to make sure you want to take enough accounts to make money, but you don't want to take too many that you can't get them done in time. So
Right, right. Because I can imagine, like, people wouldn't be very happy if you promised that you were gonna be taking care of their stuff and you didn't, right?
yeah, you show up to Target and you're trudging through 6 inches of snow just to get through the front door. Customers aren't happy, the employees aren't happy. It's not good.
So, I mean, but that's like a potential customer, huh? Target, right? Would a Target hire you to,
Yeah, we did a Target distribution center a couple years ago where they had all the semis and everything, and it was super high tolerance. It's just like an Amazon FBO warehouse, right? They've got
right?
trucks, semis coming all the time. So they were, as soon as it started snowing, they wanted us on site plowing, no matter how much snow we had. A lot of sites have a 1 inch trigger, so as soon as they hit 1 inch of snow, they want you to come out. They just said, as soon as it starts snowing, get somebody on site. We can't afford to have these trucks getting stuck, especially this time of year during the holidays. So it can be high
Wow.
maintenance.
Dang, Carson, dude, I'm really impressed, Carson. I know we talked before this, but you really know your stuff, dude, and you're like not that old, so that's really cool, man.
Thank you.
Um, okay, I was just checking the comments to see if they had any questions. If anybody's got any questions, let us know. This guy, Juan Wizard, watch my channel all the time. Florida boys don't like the cold. LOL. Yeah, there's not. um, hang lights and plow snow. That's what Bob says. So,
That's the light hanging thing. I've heard that's a huge profit maker right there.
dude, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the cool thing is the average ticket's pretty high. Like the average ticket's anywhere from like $800 to $1,200. So that's the beautiful thing about lights. And then there's a lot of upsells. People want a bunch of fancy stuff on their house and their property.
Yeah.
So okay, we covered equipment. We talked about pricing. We talked about how much money we need to start offering the service. I was going to ask you how we do it. Can you kind of break down? Obviously, we need to push the snow off of the driveway. Can you kind of talk to like what are the upsells as well? I know you talked about salting and a couple of other things.
Yeah, depending on how much you want to do, just take a residential driveway for an example. You could upsell on salt, if you want to have de-icer put down, or even like sand for some traction, right? So there's one upsell. Do you want to have your sidewalks shoveled? There's another upsell. And those are really the three main ones. You can really do that a lot more when it comes to commercial accounts, because you can start pre-treating with salt, or there's actually a liquid salt. It's called brine that you can put down. So that way it starts melting the snow as it's falling. So it keeps the parking lots safer and cleaner a little bit longer. So when you get into the commercial stuff, that's where you can really start to charge multiple times. We've got a couple of government contracts with the county that We get, 1 inch of snow, we'll go out, plow it, and then salt it, and then it'll keep snowing. We'll have a 4 inch snow event, and we'll be out there 3 or 4 times clearing the same parking lot, charging every single time we're there. So because they want a high quality service, they want the parking lot to be clear and safe. Because at the end of the day, the average slip and fall in the United States costs the company that happened $25,000. So at the end of the day, it saves, you in the long run from the liability of having a slip and fall to just salt the parking lot again for another $200. So
Man, that's a beautiful selling point right there. I feel like I'm about to get it done for my business too, and it doesn't even
yeah,
snow over here. I don't wanna slip and fall, you know?
exactly. The
Uh,
big little yellow sign out.
right. So
Perfect.
Carson, are you still doing snow removals or, like, your team does them all pretty much and you just kinda manage everybody?
Our team does them all pretty much, but if we have like last year, I was in the field quite a bit because we had a record third snowiest season on record for us. So it
Wow.
was huge snow year, and we were swamped, and everybody was. So I was in the field a lot last year, just filling in wherever I could, or kind of being a relief guy. If somebody was out for 10, 12 hours plowing, I would, they'd go take a nap or go to bed or whatever. I'd jump in that truck for a few hours so they could get some rest and then kind of cycle through people. So I was just a relief guy last year, and this year, if it ever snows, I probably won't really have to be in the field much. So, but I honestly love it. It's one of my most favorite things to do. It's peaceful going out at night. It's snowing, and you just kind of do your thing and listen to the
Right.
radio. It's fun.
Throw on some Christmas tunes or something and
Oh
really
yeah,
kinda
dude. You know
just
it.
be in the season, huh?
You know it.
Okay, this got a good question, Viral Shorts. How do you calculate your contracts? We talked a little bit about pricing, but, like, I don't know, can you give us any insights to if we got a commercial account, how we would kinda calculate it or, even like a residential driveway? Can we do it by square footage based? I know you talked about time based.
Yeah, so there's kind of, I mean, depending on the length of the driveway, a typical city driveway, like some of the ones you're seeing in those videos there, around here they go for 65 to $85 per time. But what I do for commercial is at the end of the day, you got to figure out what your cost as a company is going to be. So what is your labor cost? What is the truck fuel cost, the maintenance on the truck, wear and tear, the replacement cost of the truck? What is your insurance cost for the company? Are you, to a point of office admin? So there's a lot of other expenses that you have to factor in. But once you kind of figure out what your truck or your piece of equipment or your labor as a shovel, what they cost you per hour, then what you can do for us in Minnesota here, and this data is all online. If you're going to do a guaranteed contract in the state of Minnesota, on average, there's 15 1-inch snow events per season. So what we do for those guaranteed contracts where we just guarantee a price and we say it's a flat rate each month and it doesn't vary no matter how much snow we get. We figure out what each parking lot is going to take us time wise. And some of this comes with experience. So I'll go to a parking lot, look at it and go, well, this is going to take us 2 hours to plow this with one of our trucks. And then we're going to have a shoveler here for the same amount of time. So it's going to cost us X amount of dollars per time that we have to plow this. Then I'll take that number, multiply it by 15 because there's 15 snow events in a season on average for that 1-inch trigger. And if you go down to a half-inch trigger, it's like 22 or 23 snow events. And all that data you can find online through NOAA or other services as well for your specific location, wherever you live. But then once we have that number, the total number, our cost for the year, I'll divide that over the number of months that we're going to cover, which is usually November, beginning of November through the end of March, and then divide that into 5 equal payments for those months. And then we charge them that, and that's what they pay each month. So it makes it easier for the customer because their price isn't fluctuating each month. And then we know we've got guaranteed income coming in. And then for those per time charges, I just do that same thing where I look at the parking lot. It's going to take us 2 hours with this, 2 hours with that. So it's going to cost us X amount of dollars. This is what it costs us per time to go and plow this parking lot.
Dang, dude, that was beautiful, man. I like the way you broke that down because the snow removal was kind of like it's a little tricky. I mean, obviously you could charge by time and you could charge by, trigger event like you had mentioned. I just think that's beautiful. So how much can we make in a day with this service? Like, let's just say it's a one-man band. He's,
If
got minimal equipment.
Yeah, so if you're just getting into it, say you got a pickup truck, a shovel, and a plow and stuff like that, like I was saying earlier, when we have densely, tight residential routes, and this is honestly probably the most lucrative piece, especially once you start to get multiple employees and things like that, it's nice to have commercial because it's easy to send a guy to a site and he's there for 2 hours and there's not a whole bunch of questions and it's easy to bill that. But if it's just you, honestly, I would just get residential accounts, charge that 60, 70, 80, $90 a time to plow a driveway. And when you think about that, like I was saying, if we're at about $300 to $350 an hour, if you go out and you plow for 10 hours in one day, I mean, you're making $3,000 uh, every snow event. So just fill that schedule up so it takes you 10 hours and you're going to be averaging around three, as long as your route is tight, the driveways are close by, you're not driving 30 minutes to each driveway because that drive time is going to kill your hourly rate at that point, right?
Right.
So maybe you can make $3,000 a day with just having your pickup truck. So as long as it's
Dude,
snowing.
that's crazy. I mean, obviously it's not snowing like all the time, but like you said, last year was the third, most snowiest year on record. So that was probably a pretty good year to be in the snow business.
Yeah, for sure. No, we had a record year. And the nice part is, like, honestly, depending on what you do, I mean, if you're in the trades or even if you do have like an online business or something like that, and you just wanted to make like extra money or you work for somebody else, it usually snows at night. And a lot of people with residential driveways, they're more flexible than commercial. So if you just told people up front, hey, I can only plow your driveway at night because I work during the day, I'll give you $5 off because of that, or make sure we'll get to it first thing, but it's going to cost you $10 more, right? Just be upfront with them, tell them that you could do this after work, or whenever it fits in your schedule. If you're going to school, do it after school, and you can make $3,000 and still have a full-time job or be going to school or whatever the case might be. So, I mean, the opportunity's there if you're just willing to go out and figure it out.
Dude, I love it. I love it, man. This is beautiful. As far as like, I just want to show this again, just because I'm trying to get a mental picture on this. So if you were clearing a driveway in this truck, I mean, obviously the driveway has no cars in it, right? And then what are you doing? You just pushing this snow all the way till the end, and then you roll out,
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more than that. So sometimes there are cars, and then it becomes a nightmare because you're trying to get around that car. But we'll
right?
pull up to the garage doors, drop the plow, back drag that snow out. Like this one, the guy's got a car parked to the side. Um, so we'll push all the snow up the main driveway on this one because there's a hill, and it's going to make it easier. You can see here how much snow there is. But pull that snow away from the garage, back drag it out, and then push it off to the side of the driveway. So
Dude, you didn't hit
that
this, did you?
that wasn't me. I think I was taking a video as evidence because you could see there's no tracks in the snow and somebody else hit that before I got there. So I wanted
Okay.
evidence.
Just
But
for
I mean,
anybody
we have
offering
done stuff like that before, though. Our guys, and I've hit stuff, and yeah, I mean, it happens.
Okay,
So
I got a question about that coming up, but for anybody who's doing any of this kind of work, you wanna make sure, like, obviously, it's probably pretty hard to do a pre-inspection walk around, but, like, this is beautiful. You wanna make sure you document this because, if these people were scammers or something, they might try to pin this on you, and then, you'd have, like, a lawsuit on your hands to try to repair all this,
that's why I jumped out of the truck and took a video of the snow. You could see there's no tracks in the snow right there, so it couldn't have been me. But that's what we do with our commercial parking lots. We actually go around and we take pictures of everything before the season starts. Busted curbs, chips in the sidewalk, if light poles have been damaged or stuff like that. So that way people know, hey, this was here before we started in the season. We're not liable for it.
Right, you have to document pre-existing damage on a property or else, you could be held liable for it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's beautiful. So, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I interrupted you or not, but okay, they open the garage, you put the plow down, and you pull back on it to
Yeah, so like right now, I just dropped the plow in front of the garage and I'll back up and pull the snow away from the garage the best I can. And then grab that snow and push it to the end of the driveway out of the way.
got it.
So
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Let's see what else I got for you. What are the best ways to get customers for this service? I mean, we'd mentioned, with commercial, obviously, it's a little bit more difficult if you're just starting out and go knock doors and stuff like that. But any other ways that are really good for getting customers?
we've ran Google ads. We've had pretty good luck with that on the residential side because people just Google have, snow removal service. So if you're trying to target residential, knock doors, send out flyers, things like that, and Google ads has worked well for that. If you're trying to get into the commercial space, it's really all about who you know, right? So there's certain association networking events if you want to do homeowners associations where there's like townhomes or apartment buildings or things like that. So I'd go to events like that, talk to association managers and property managers, because that's how you're going to get those accounts on the commercial side of things. So, or there's also government contracts as well, which is what we do a lot of. There's a lot of counties put out for bid. They call it a RFP or RFQ, request for proposal, request for quote. And then you can go online and these government services, they've got different logins and stuff like that. And then you'll place your bid and there'll be other people that bid on it as well. That's probably your most complex level of it. You go residential, probably that commercial, talking to association managers, things like that, and then to that government bids after that. So, and
Dang.
to be quite frank, like that's also kind of your profit tiers as well. Residential, it's easier to get into, especially if you're in rural areas. Almost anybody's got a pickup truck and they can just throw a plow on it and it's easy. If you're in the inner cities where there's less pickup trucks per capita, right? You're going to be able to charge a little bit more because less people have trucks and there's more driveways to do. It's supply and demand. Same with the government stuff, where it's a little bit harder to get into because you got to go through this strange bidding process, quite frankly, and you got to find all these bids online, and it is a pain in the butt. So people steer away from that because it's just harder up front, more work.
Right. So yeah, the more barrier of an entry there is, like technically, the more money you can make. I mean, also with commercial, it's just like you're doing large parking lots. I can imagine that pays a lot better than like a single driveway, right? Like,
Yeah, and it definitely does. But at the end of the day, too, that $300 to $350 an hour to do if you get a tight route of driveways, I mean, that's really good money for a pickup truck. So that's
right.
really good money.
And then as far question as like far as the government contracts go, like what is the payout on government contracts? Is it like a net 30 or a net 90 or
Yeah, it's like whenever they want.
right there you go.
Maybe it'll show up. No,
Let's
it's
hope
usually pretty
so.
good, but it's like net 30 usually. Yeah.
Okay,
So
right.
that's the
If they
other thing
don't
you have to
pay,
be
it's
able
a
to
tax
bankroll it.
deduction, I guess. Like we'll just hit them with, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay, sweet. So that's and then just so people know, there is more money in the commercial space. There's more money on doing the stuff for the government, but obviously it's not. You can't go knock on the government's door and say, "Hey, we just plowed the snow. We need your money." So
yeah,
one thing to take into consideration. What is the biggest mistake that you guys have made or that you've made with this business, Carson?
I would say honestly, the biggest mistake I've made was probably last year. We took on a whole ton of snow removal accounts, and I didn't realize it was going to be the third snowiest season on record. So usually for us, we don't have guys getting overtime in the winter because we usually have a surplus of guys, and we'll take on more guys from other companies because the trades up here just really slow down because of the winter season, right? So there's usually a bunch of extra guys that can do whatever. But we had all of our guys getting overtime all year last winter because we were just so busy with snow. So we took on probably way too much snow removal. We did honestly burn out a lot of the guys. We had a couple of guys quit. But that's probably once you're locked into those contracts, you can't tell the people mid-season, I'm sorry. You just kind of got to suck it up and do it. So we worked a lot of hours last year. Revenue-wise and profit-wise, it was our best season ever, but it was a lot of work. So a lot of guys got burnt out. But that's
So did
probably my
you
biggest mistake.
you took on less contracts this year than I would imagine?
Yeah, we took on a little bit less.
Okay.
So
I mean, at
you
the end
got
of
to
the
push
day,
yourself,
last year
right?
was
You got to
probably
push yourself.
that's right. There you go. You got to
Yeah.
expand. One of the hardest things for people to do is to hire people into their company. So how are you finding like so many good workers? How are you training them up? Things like that.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing for us still. I mean, finding skilled labor right now is extremely difficult in all of the trades, nonetheless, this. So, and I would say snow removal isn't as skilled. I mean, you need to have some experience running a truck and doing that, or a skid loader or wheel loader, whatever it is, because this equipment can, cause tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage really, really quickly on a job site. But so you got to have skilled people. The hardest thing to do is find skilled people. But with snow removal, honestly, the best thing is find other trades, say like roofing companies. They don't really do roofing in the winter because there's snow, right? So obviously landscapers, pool builders, concrete guys, all these companies are laying people off for the winter. So we'll post ads or even talk to these other companies and say, hey, do you guys have anyone that wants to work or stay busy throughout the winter? We could use extra people with snow removal, and then just network, call other businesses, because some people don't like these concrete companies, pool builders. They don't like doing snow removal a lot, but they have 20, 30 guys that they just end up laying off all winter. So we could take them and keep them busy for the winter, and then they go back to doing what they're doing in the summer. But it's difficult. It really is difficult to find good qualified people.
Wow. Okay, that's super cool. I mean, because like usually like you go and get your workers from other businesses that, like you said, they're not working during the winter, so you might as well bring them on. I think
Yeah.
that's super cool. How hard is it to train somebody with this? Like, do they have to just ride along for a little bit until they get it?
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I learned how to do it. I mean, when I couldn't even drive at 14, 15 years old or whatever, I'd just go ride with my dad in the truck in the middle of the night and, just kind of watch him and learn how to do it. And then from there, once I was 16, actually before I was 16, I was running one of the skid loaders on site because you didn't need a driver's license to do that. And then I got into a truck once I turned 16 and started plowing from there. But yeah, the best way to do it is just get somebody in the truck and start training them. Also, I mean, realistically, if someone's never done this before and they're going to work for another company, you're probably going to end up on a shovel or a snowblower, doing sidewalks or things like that to start. And that's a great way to learn as well because, yeah, it's not as much fun. You're outside, it's cold, it's physical work. But at the end of the day, like you really learn because when you're on a commercial site, the truck and the shovel crew have to work together because the shovel crew pushes the snow from the sidewalk into the parking lot, and then the equipment takes that snow and hauls it away to the snow pile or pushes it wherever with the pickup truck. So running that shovel and just watching the equipment move around the parking lot as you're there at the same time, that's a great way to learn as well. So
Dude, I love it. For anybody who missed the beginning of the call, they didn't hear the fact that you bought this business from your parents. Why'd you buy it? I'm just, that's very intriguing to me. Why'd you buy it though? Like, why didn't you just kind of like, help them grow it? Like, how'd you come to that decision that's like, mom and dad, I want to buy this from you? You know what I mean?
yeah, it was. I kind of tell people and joke about it. It was a bit of a hostile takeover. I was always super ambitious and wanted to grow it. My dad just never really wanted to. Not that he didn't want to, but he was 60 or so at the time, and he's kind of towards getting retirement. Didn't want to take on debt and grow the company and all these headaches and everything, which is totally understandable. But I was like, oh, I'm young and dumb and want to go do this. So 2019, I actually started my own company because he wasn't ready to sell, and I started with snow removal that year, which is probably where some of those videos were from. Did that, and I did excavating and dirt work, and then in 2020, he was like, "Okay, you kind of like proved yourself. You'd be capable of doing this," and then bought them out. So yeah, it was. He wasn't quite ready for it, but he kind of saw that I wanted it, and I proved myself that I could do it. So now we still make payments to them each month to pay it off. They financed it, and it worked out great for us, and it worked out great for them.
Dude, that's awesome, bro. That's just like, I've never heard of that before. So I just thought that that was super cool. Any last words of advice, Carson, for somebody that's watching this, they're going to start their snow removal business and they want to kind of climb the ranks to where you've been able to get?
Honestly, just if you're thinking about it, and even if you don't have much capital, you can't go buy a truck or something like that if you're younger, or if you can't even drive. I mean, knock the doors in the neighborhood, get started with a shovel, and honestly, like most things in life, just jump into it and get started. Especially with snow removal, you'll figure it out along the way. Call other companies in your area. Maybe you want to work for somebody for a year and then go out on your own after that, or buy a pickup truck or whatever. I would just say start somehow, and start as soon as possible.
Boom. Okay, I love it, man. Hey, look, every guest that comes on the channel has to pick the word of the day. It's any word that you want, but what would you like the word of the day to be?
Snow.
Snow. If you guys made this far in the video, comment down below snow and I'll hashtag your real one. Carson, any last words for anybody? Anything else you want to share? Do you want to tell the people where they can find you at or anything?
Yeah, if you want to follow along and see what we do, and I try to share more information like this, or DM me on Instagram, just Carson Shifsky. More than happy to answer questions or help people out. I love this industry, grew up in it, and I'm going to be in it for the rest of my life. So, want to help other people get started as well. So,
Sweet, sweet. Carson, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on, man. But until next time, hustle hard and get that money, baby. Peace.